You know, it was supposed to auto switch, but it didn't, and that's okay. Hey, y'all, welcome
Hi.
to Sick of This Shit Publications. We are dual streaming right now with Time for Life on a different channel and Sick of This Shit Publications here with me, Nick Perro. Ooh, it says Banner and Backbone. I'm going to change that for a second to what I really am. It's not your dad. I am here on the Intelligent Masculinity series, joined by my good friend and green man, the Opinionated Ogre. How's it going today, man? How are you?
I am Peachy Keen. Where are we right now on Substack?
We are, let me drop the live link for you here in our chat, in our private chat here in Restream. And we are just starting to get pulled up. Everybody come hit that heart, smash the heart, say hi while you're coming on in. We're
There
sort of
we
going to
are.
introduce ourselves, say hi to everybody. I'm going to let Ogre speak for a couple minutes saying hi. But smash that heart as you come on in. Hit the subscribe if you're not already subscribed with us. We are streaming here on Substack, on Twitch, on Banner, and on Banner and Backbone's Facebook and
Hi,
YouTube
everybody.
channels. Fortunately, we don't have the Sick of This Shit YouTube channels going right now, which is okay. That being said, welcome, Ogre. How are you today? And can you introduce yourself to everybody in the audience as we are sort of rolling on in?
I am the Opinionated Ogre, a sock puppet who hates Nazis. I'm very, very mean to them, and I've been having a lot of fun this past week picking on them. They've been showing up on my Substack yelling at me, and I've had a lot of fun saying mean things to them and then kicking them off of my Substack.
As you should.
As I should.
As
Yeah, I've
you
been
should.
super popular with the Nazis lately. It's been very, very funny.
Oh yeah. So tell me about it. I heard you have written a new I
Yeah,
heard you
no,
wrote
it was the weirdest thing. It wasn't like some super like, oh, we have to get the Nazis article. I mean, it kind of was, but it wasn't exactly that. I've been writing for a while now about holding them like the hashtags, Nuremberg them all.
yeah.
Right, which I picked that up from Dr. Eileen. Damn it, I forgot her last name again. Sorry, Eileen. I keep forgetting your last name, and I'm very, very sorry about that. But I picked it up. She's one of my readers, and she had put in hashtag Nuremberg them all, and I was just like, oh my god, that is fucking perfect. That absolutely just sums it all up. Oop, we lost Nick. He'll be back.
My god.
There he is.
Restream hates me today, so sorry about that, y'all. I'm back. Nuremberg them all was where we were at.
Yes. So and I was just like that is like mwah, perfect, chef's kiss. Mwah. So I've been, just that just encapsulates the entire idea. Like we have to hold these people responsible. They have to be held accountable for what they've been doing. And I've been writing about that a lot. It's like you have to see the change that you want in the world. If you can't imagine it, if you can't envision that future, then that future will not happen, right? And that's the thing I've been talking about a lot. And I wrote an article explaining, and again, I've written variations of this article, but this is just one I wrote. And it had a funny little GIF for its cover image, just a bunch of people being led up to the guillotine from the French Revolution. And the article went viral. It's like, yay, hooray, pat myself on the back. Woo, cool me. And I've noticed that when an article goes viral, when it gets to like 250 restacks, that's when I get the trolls. Yes. And nothing happened when it got to 250. And I was like, oh, wow, that's weird. That's quiet. Yay. I don't have to deal with the stupid people. But then it got to like 400. And that's when the Nazis started rolling in. And they rolled in by the dozens and the dozens and the dozens. And they were really, really fucking angry. Like I just talked about this, like like an
Yeah,
hour
with
and a half
Fred this
ago.
morning.
Yeah, they were super fucking mad that I had the nerve to say, yeah, all the people in ICE and in this regime that are violating Constitution and breaking the law and doing all these terrible things, they need to be held accountable for all of it. This is the Nuremberg trials. They broke the law. They've been killing people. Stephen Miller is absolutely planning on opening concentration camps and killing people by the tens of thousands. That's his fucking plan. It's like you don't open concentration camps for white nationalism without the intent of killing people by the truckload. And
Correct.
they're going to try to hide the mass graves, and that's not going to fucking work. And they all need to be held accountable. Whether it's the firing squad, the gallows, or the fucking guillotine. They all have to be held accountable. There's no fucking escape for them. They cannot be allowed to walk away from this with a pat on the back saying, let's move forward to heal the nation. It's like, no, we heal the nation by making these people swing from a rope or spend the rest of their lives in a little tiny jail cell. And the Nazis have been screaming bloody fucking like, oh my God, how dare you? You're going to try to kill every white man in America. And it's like, yeah, that's not what I said. That's not at all what I fucking said. But I can see why you would think that because,
you're outing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's just been days and days of. I've been called gay so many times in the last couple of days. It's like I might as well just put on the pink fingernails.
I love how that's supposed to be an insult. Like, okay, cool. Okay, dude, like I'm gay. Yeah, whatever, man. That means I'm happy and I enjoy myself and I let myself do fun things like get pedicures and manicures. And so you're straight, man. Sucks to suck.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I'm going to go around and start calling people straight and just be like, what do you think about that? You're just a straighty. You're just a straighty. You're one of those straight fuckers. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, no, it's been so funny watching them just it's like you're screaming, you're demanding consequences. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yes.
Isn't it so scary for you? It's so scary, terrifying. Yeah, it's
almost like actions have consequences and you have to live with them. And that's almost like the heart of this entire series that I'm doing. So for those who are coming in with us, it's the Intelligent Masculinity series here on Sick of This Shit Publications. I'm Nick Barrow, not your dad, and I've got the Ogre, who is opinionated as shit and has a life story and we won't get into obviously details on names or anything like that because we respect Ogre's privacy, but he's going to tell us a lot about himself in probably unexpected ways. Today, you are going to all learn about Ogre and his version of masculinity and what it means and who he is as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as just a man. And this goes right into the heart of what Ogre does in a lot of ways anyway, is he calls out the bullshit. He calls out, as Fred Pogue would say, the eagle jizz. He calls out the eagle jizz. He calls it like it is. He's as I drop and rejoin, because my restream is decided that it does not like me today.
Man, really?
Yeah, like it could be the fact that I'm doing new things and I'm trying to do dual broadcasts and I have to figure out how that works. And it's a good thing I have 2 restream accounts so that I can stream because I'm actually cross streaming while another show on my network is going on.
Oh my God, you cross the streams?
Cross the streams. We crossed the streams and we haven't died yet.
Total protonic reversal.
Oh my God, no. There is no mom, only Zool. That's one of our like geek like stims in our house is like we'll randomly talk about or say like the kids are calling for mom and she's not in the room or something and we'll be like, there is no mom, only Zool. And they'll bust out doing it too, like there is no child, only Zool. And so yeah, we have some nerd stims. I love it. Ghostbusters, one of my favorite, even if it doesn't age well in some areas, still a great movie. We have to have fun. And that's part of all of this too, is we crossed the streams today. It looked like my power decided to go out, is trying to do weird things.
Oh my God, that would just be absolutely hilarious. It's like, okay, clearly we're not meant to do this today.
Yeah, it would be like, yeah, no, fuck you. You are done. You're off. No Ogre today. This would be the shutdown of the day. We're not going to let that happen, though. We're just going to keep rolling because fuck them. Fuck the patriarchy. We're here to tear that shit down.
They're trying to censor us.
Tech nodes down. Yeah, they're trying to censor us because we're not the Andrew Taints of the world. We're not the Theo Vaughns. We're not the Joe Rogan, who I heard was in the Epstein files. I heard Joe Rogan's name
really
in the Epstein files. Take that, Joe fucking Rogan. My name's not in the Epstein files. I don't want a Joe Rogan of the left. That would imply you're in the Epstein files. And my wife sent me a TikTok this morning. I interviewed my mom on Monday, so she's on my mind right now. She was on my chronic illness show. And she's a licensed retired school psychologist. And so we're talking about COVID and the isolation and the impacts on like child development. I think you'd find her discussion really, really intriguing. She focuses a lot on child development and she cares.
Well, I have to go back and listen to that because I watched what it did to Anastasia and Lila, and it was like they're mostly recovered from it, but man, woof, that first year after they got out of COVID was brutal. They struggled to get back to normal, and it was like, God damn.
And a lot of kids, especially kids with disabilities and IEPs or 504 plans in schools or any sort of special education program, fell behind so much further. And they like haven't one of the things my mom was talking about is they never re-baselined what depression or anxiety would be based off of. So they're still using pre-COVID baselines for everything for their diagnostics, which doesn't work anymore because we spent 2 years in isolation and that fucked with people, like fucked people up. And obviously the destruction of the Department of Education is purposeful and is screwing people even more. But what we need is the exact opposite. Like we need kids all to have a school psychologist. We need all the kids to get help and someone to speak with just because it's good for them. Like that would be cool, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet, unfortunately. But let's get into it a little, man. Let's have some fun talking about intelligent masculinity. Oh yeah. Thanks, Yenny, for just that little aside is go get your shots and vaccines. And if you have children, make sure they get theirs and they are up to date because those are going to get harder to find. They're going to get less prevalent and the standards are going to change and your kids are going to get sicker if you don't get them properly vaccinated.
Yeah. Even if you're an adult, go get your, what the hell are they called again? Titles, whatever. Go get checked to see if your vaccines are still functional. Like me and my wife, we went and got checked. My measles vaccine was no longer effective. Like the mumps and rubella was fine for me, but my measles wasn't. For my wife, her mumps was no longer effective. So we went and got our shots again.
Yeah, it's important to make sure that you are up to date. Shingles is a real thing. Like if you had chickenpox as a kid, you can get shingles. It's extremely, extremely fucking painful.
And even if you didn't get chickenpox, you should go get the shot anyway, because if you get chickenpox as an adult, it's really, really bad for you. Yeah. Even if you're not getting shingles, chickenpox as an adult is super, super bad for you. So
yeah. And it tends to turn into shingles as an adult. Like it tends to become shingles pretty quickly. It's also a stress-related disease. Like shingles appears because of stress. Like that's one of the factors that sets it on is stress. And guess what? We're living in one of the most stressful times in history right now. We're at least in American history, we're living through one of the most stressful times ever that I could think of, at least in my lifetime. This is more stressful than 9/11 was.
Oh yeah, easily.
And that's saying a lot.
And I lived in New York. I was in New York City for 9/11, and this is still way more fucking stressful. So yeah, my wife was in Manhattan. So
Jesus.
I mean, she wasn't close, but
Yeah,
she was
but
still in
still,
Manhattan. So yeah, she had to walk out of Manhattan that day.
that's
Was not a
crazy.
fun day.
No, I wouldn't think so. I watched it on TV in middle school. Like it was on the little TV in the corner of my classroom in middle school, and
Middle school, fucking fetus.
yeah,
But
I'm a baby. I was a
apparently,
baby then.
apparently.
And like I remember seeing it and watching it on TV and just going, "Wow, that is wow." And then it changed. Everything changed from there. Like we've we haven't really recovered from it in
Nope.
any way. We've made it worse. In
Bin
fact,
Laden
ICE,
won.
yeah, ICE is
Honestly,
a product of 9/11, and this unintelligent masculinity that we're seeing and the rise of fascist masculinity and like fragile masculinity and these men who feel they're owed everything is a product of 9/11 as well. Is we stoked racial hatreds in this country. We stoked old animosities of white supremacy and of domination over um, conflict resolution and domination over anything. Um, and so I'm trying to combat that here with intelligent masculinity and defining what it is, what it means to each of us, and how we as men, because guess what? Men, we're the problem, especially those who look like me. Like me, if you got this beautiful skin color of the Caucasus Mountains and you're fairly pale, looks a lot like Ogre. Um, Without the green is, guess what, y'all? They don't like anyone but us, and they don't even like us. And our masculinity doesn't fit in. We would be considered race traitors years ago. Like that's what we are. We're race traitors to these white people. So let's continue to be traitors in that regard and talk about intelligent masculinity because fragile masculinity fucking sucks. So, Ogre, my
yes.
first question for you today, my friend, before all of it, well, as all of it, my first question for you as we get into intelligent masculinity and this incredible discussion we're going to have is two-part question for you. First part, and these will be long answers. We'll go into them and then we'll come back to part two because these are really where we come from. Is who has been the most influential masculine figure in your life and why? And it does not have to be for a positive reason either.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the case for me. Uh it was definitely like for many men, my father. And it's basically like a negative image. That's just if you take a photograph, it's the negative. I sent you an article. I don't know, did you get around to reading it?
I was not able to, but I am going to pull it up.
It's it's a bit of a harrowing journey. I wrote that 3 years ago at this point. Might have been 4. I don't know. It's been a while. Um, I'm not going to go through the entire article because it's very lengthy and extremely unpleasant. But um, I had the type of childhood that ends with most people saying, "And then I turned to drugs."
Yeah,
I did not do that. Probably because most people in my family use drugs in some form or another, and I just decided somewhere along the line that I wasn't going to be bothered doing that. I don't know. I've never used any kind of drugs at all. Drink, yes. Drugs, no. I've never even smoked weed. I just never bothered. It never appealed to me. But it was it was pretty fucking bad.
yeah,
Um, and when it wasn't physical, as I got older, it became emotional, and then it became just like complete neglect.
yeah.
Um,
Which
so
unfortunately is the case in a lot of these situations.
yeah, pretty much. So I was left to raise myself by the time I was 12, maybe 13. I was Yeah, more like 12. I was pretty much raising myself. I was, my mother had left when I was 5, maybe 6 years old, and I was not. Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
So, um, when I got older, it took me a really, really long time to figure out who I wanted to be as a person, what I wanted to be as a person. And when I finally figured out that I didn't have to live my life wondering what other people thought of me, that was very freeing. That was nice. And
Hmm.
then me and Mrs. Ogre, decided to have kids. And the reason we decided to have kids is because we weren't going to,
Yeah.
because I was extremely worried that I was going to be just like my father. You know, a lot of people become their fathers when they have kids of their own. And why in God's name would I ever inflict that on a child? Like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Um, my brother had a kid when he was very young, like my father did. He had a kid when he was 17, and he was not good at it. So there was that distinct possibility. It was just like, yeah, I don't want to follow down though that path. It was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Um, but my friend Maria, she and her partner wanted kids, and they had asked me to be the father. And I thought about it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was just like, I don't know, maybe, possibly. And I thought about it like a lot, like really fucking hard. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be the one raising this kid. So, even if I am a shitty father, I'm not going to be raising the kid. So, how bad could it possibly be?
Yeah.
So I said yes, but I had been with well, she wasn't Mrs. Ogre at the time, but I had been with her at that point for 8 years, 7 years. And I was like, well, I can't do that without asking her, right? Like
Correct. Yeah.
she has to sign off on that.
Yeah. That's a big no-no. If you
Yeah,
like just to like come home one day and you're like, hey, wife of mine, guess what? I have
yeah.
another kid now.
Well, we weren't married yet. We were still, I mean, we were living together, but
Yeah.
we weren't married or anything. So I was like, she's got to have full buy-in on it. So I asked her, and she thought about it for a week, and she said, sure, but I want a kid too. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And then I thought about that for a little while, and I was like, huh, okay. And we had been together for the better part of a decade, and she knew who I was, and she knew who my father was, and she knew that my whole thing with him and blah blah blah. And I thought to myself, I was like, okay, if she still thinks that I would be a good father after living with me for years and knowing my history and knowing my brother and yada 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 yada, sure, okay, fine, we'll give it a shot, right? And I'd already like gone in on the concept of having a kid with
Hmm.
my friend Maria and her partner, and I was like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna fucking do it, right? So I proposed. I was like, well, if we're gonna have a kid on purpose, let's get married. So et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up having 2 kids with Mrs. Ogre and one kid with Maria and Jenny. Like Maria broke up with the person she was with at the time. And a couple of years later, Mrs. Rosario had a couple of miscarriages, and we had to wait until we had our kids. And then Maria, I got her pregnant, artificial insemination, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But she was with Jenny They still wanted a kid. Now I have Anastasia and Jordan and Kyle. Kyle would be the donor baby. He's adorable.
Yeah.
He's 12. He turned 12 in August. It's great. And
so before you go
sorry.
too far, what is that like having a what is it like having a donor baby or being the donor for a baby that you know? Like, are you how does that work for you and your friends and your family? Are you just it's not yours and you know that, and you're just hands off and they're
Well, that was always the arrangement.
okay.
He would always know that I was his father,
Yeah.
but I am not his parent.
Okay. That's a good distinction. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. He would always he always knew who I was. When he was like I was around him when he was a baby, and I was around him. Like, we moved. It was annoying. The timing was so terrible. Mrs. Ogre was looking for a job down here in Virginia.
Yeah.
Right when Maria gave birth, and that's when we got the job and moved. I was like, God damn it! So
terrible timing.
Yeah, I was like, but I got up to there. Yanni asked, am I in their life? And it's like, yes, I got up to New York as often as I could. Whenever I got up there to see them, whenever I could. And, I saw him when he was a baby. I saw them as much as I could, which is not as frequent as I would have liked because they're up in New York and I can't just leave because I had little kids of my own. I can't just leave. But when he was he knew who I was when he was 1. He knew who I was when I was 2, but he wasn't really into me. I would say, hi, sweetie, hi. And he would just kind of cling to mommy. When he was, I think, 3 years old, it might have been 4. One day they came to visit, and as soon as he saw me, he went, Daddy! And he just ran to me, and I was just like, holy shit! When did that start? What? And I was like super excited. And he just clung to me. And we were
amazing.
We were playing and this and the other, and we were roughhousing because, his moms play with him, but they don't roughhouse with him. And he just ate that up. And I was like, yeah, I could play with him and roughhouse him. And he thought that was the best thing ever. So, and after that, we just, we had that relationship. And, we would goof around and we would see each other. I would tickle him and pick him up and throw him all over the place because, his moms can't pick him up and throw him around. It's like, well, I can't. I can throw you 6 feet through the air. And he thought that was awesome. It's like, oh, there's the bed. Whee! He was like, I'm flying. And I was like, okay. The last time they came down to visit, we played a Dungeons and Dragons one-shot because he's been wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons for a long time, but he hasn't been able to find anyone to play with. So, and there goes Nick again. And there he is.
See?
You're back.
I'm back. They're going to be the weirdest show. It's going to be the weirdest looking, post-recording. It's going to be halfway through a conversation. Nick falls off. Nick comes back. Nick falls off. Nick comes back. Anyway.
But he came down and me and Anastasia, because Anastasia, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons Anastasia for 2 years, but Kyle's been wanting to play, so the 3 of us sat down and we played a one-shot D&D campaign for the day.
That's awesome.
And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. And Anastasia had so much fun because she got to introduce her little brother because they know each other. They've been talking this entire time.
Yeah.
So she got to introduce her little brother to D&D. So she thought it was the best thing ever too. So the 3 of us got to play D&D together. It was fucking awesome.
That's really cool. I think that's fantastic. I love the fact that you are in his life as a figure, as someone who is actively constructive in his life too, even though it might not be as often as you want to be, but you're still a figure in his life. And it seems that you're making a really positive impact in
as little as it is. I try.
Yeah. And that's crucially important too is when you get the opportunities to make an impact, you purposely go to make a positive impact. You go and you want to include him in your family and with his half sisters, and or half siblings in a way, even though they're not siblings, they're still blood related. And it's cool to see that you treat them all very similarly in this discussion around how you want to be a positive impact in their life. And I don't think everybody would do that. But I think it's important and really awesome that you do. So
Oh, yeah,
props to you, dude.
my wife dotes on him. I have not bought Kyle a Christmas or birthday gift in his entire life. It's been my wife.
Oh, that's fantastic.
She does not allow me to do it. She's the one who I don't get to pick anything for him. She does. She does. She will not allow me to buy stuff. She's like, yeah, no, that go away. I'm buying the gifts for him. It's like, but she's like, no, go away. I was like, oh okay. She's Aunt Mrs. Rosario. Sorry, that Mrs. Ogre. She's the one that buys the gift because she's like, he's not my kid, but he's your kid, which means he's sort of my kid too. Go away. It's like, oh, okay. I'll walk away now. You pick out the gifts.
Don't be so mean next time. I just want to help. I'm just here to help.
Yeah, no, she's like, go away, fuck off. It's like, all right.
That's fantastic. And looping this into the original question, all of this spawns because you did not want to inflict the generational traumas that your father did on you, or the person who was the father in your life. You did not want to inflict those same traumas forward. You wanted to break the generational cycle and break these generational traumas. And I applaud you for that. And it's a theme that I've seen keep recurring in all these discussions. Is there is something that we want to better in our lives, and there's something that we are actively for, and you are actively for not passing that trauma on. So you're doing things that include that you made key choices on, like not doing drugs or getting into alcoholism, and it's a choice to do those types of things. And
Well,
it's a choice.
the first 3 or 4 years, when when the kids were babies, the first 3 or 4 years, it was literally fake it until you make it. It was like I had to go against my natural instincts, right? Because I only knew, it's like, how do you treat kids? This is how you treat kids. Well, okay, that's not what I want to do because that's what my father would have done. So literally my entire parental theory for the first 3 or 4 years was, what would my father do? Don't do that. Which sounds really, really stupid, but that's what I had to do. It's like, this is the thing I think I should do. Obviously, that is not the thing I should do because that's what I went through. So don't do that thing. Do the opposite of that thing. And then eventually it just became natural, right? It just became habit. Yeah. Don't do that. Do the opposite of that. And then it just became habit. It just became natural. It just became, that's the go-to. Don't do that thing. Don't yell. Don't raise your hand. Don't snap. Don't be mean. Don't belittle. Don't punish. I mean, there's certain types of punishment, like, you have to sit in this chair for 5 minutes, as opposed to, I'm going to spank you now. It's like, you did something wrong. There's consequences, but I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to, cause things that are going to make lasting impact damage on you. You're going to learn a lesson, but not something that's going to scar you for life. And that was literally what I had to do. Don't do the thing that was done to me.
That is, I mean, as tough as that is, you did it and you continue to do it. And I think one of the big key points you made there, and it's training. It's an active process. It's discipline. You have to be disciplined to do it. You have to choose to be better than either the example that you were given. And that's typically what we want, anyways. It's like, I had a good example of a father growing up. I had a really good example of a father growing up. I still want to be better at being a father than mine was, because he made mistakes too. And I don't want to repeat any mistakes. But my dad taught me really, really, really well. I want to repeat the things he taught me and improve upon them. Yours is just coming from the opposite direction, because you don't want to repeat those mistakes that were destructive and harmful. And that is a choice. That is you living with the consequences of your actions and values. And your actions are to not pass on that trauma. So keep that up, dude. Especially the part where, like, key focus in on is its training. It takes a while to get used to. You are breaking indoctrination of what fragile masculinity looks like and training yourself into a new masculinity that's better. And one of the ways we get there isn't just through the masculine figures in our life. And that's why I've expanded this first question on purpose to include the second half, which is, who has been the most influential feminine figure in your life, for same idea of positive or negative?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people say their mother, and she had a lot of influence. I mean, the reason I write is because my mother. Like, I inherited that from my mother. My mother was a writer, not professionally, but she could write, and I know I picked that gift up from her, which I've passed on to two of my children. My brother can write. His daughter can write. So I know it is a generational thing. But oddly enough, the most influential woman is, she has no idea either. It was a woman I worked with for my first, bye, Nick.
No,
Hi,
bye,
Nick.
Nick. Bye, Nick. Jesus. Substack really hates. I'm not even on my VPN right now. Like, that's normally the issue. And Restream is mad at me today.
Yeah, really. So it was a woman I worked with when I worked at KB Toys way back in the day when KB Toys still existed. But her name was Teresa. And I worked at KB Toys when I was 17, maybe 18. And Teresa was like a year or two older than me. I don't think she was an assistant manager. She might have been a key holder, but Teresa was, I mean, I'm a big guy. I've always been a big guy, but she was a little itty bitty tiny person, right? If she was 5'3", I would have been surprised, right?
Yeah.
Like, I towered over her, and I was easily 120 pounds heavier. Easily. Even back when I didn't weigh as much as I do now, chunk. But so she was a little itty bitty tiny person. And yet, Teresa, this little itty bitty tiny person, and mind you, wasn't like she worked out, right? It wasn't like she was a short person who, she hit the gym and she was muscled. She was tiny and she was slight. Okay. And she still, just in the stock room, did not give a shit. Like, she was like, I don't care, whatever. Boom, picked up boxes and just tossed them around like it was nothing. Like, she just never cared. It didn't matter. She was there to do her job. And she was just so I've worked with a lot of women. Yeah. And a lot of them are like, well, I can't lift that. It's too heavy. Oh, I can't do that. It's too much. Oh, I can't do that. I can't move that stuff. It's too heavy. And she was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Unless it weighed as much as she did, she picked up the box and she fucking moved it. And I was always in fucking awe of that. I was like, that's what a fucking woman is. That's what a person's supposed to be like. Cause like, I don't care. I'm here to do the fucking work. You're paying me. I'm doing the job. I don't give a shit. She didn't care. Like, she didn't give a goddamn tiny bit. It's like, I don't care if I'm a woman. I'm here to do the job. Boom, move, work. And I was always so impressed by that. Always so impressed by that. And later, when I found Mrs. Ogre, I was delighted to find that she was just like that. She just, yeah, she's not strong, but she never cared. She was like, I am a foot taller than she is. I outweigh her by 100 and something pounds. And it's like, yeah, we need to move this couch. She's like, okay. And she would just help me pick up the couch and move it. And it was like, how are you doing that? She's like, I don't fucking know. It's like, you're not that strong. She's like, nope, but we got to move the fucking couch. And she would just do it. And it was like, I love you. you know? And it was just, she just didn't let the fact that she was a smaller, significantly weaker woman stop her from doing stuff. There was just some women who were just like, I can't do it because I'm a woman. And she'd be like, I don't give a fuck. That doesn't mean shit to me. It's like weaker sex my ass. I got shit to do. Get out of my way. And it was like, yes, that's how you fucking do it. And it's just one of those things that type of thing really influenced me. It was like, well, fuck, if she can throw around boxes in the stockroom like that, then I can fucking do it too without even thinking about it. It's like I can work just as long as she can. There's no fucking way I'm letting this tiny woman outwork me. No fucking way. She's literally half my size. It's embarrassing. So, never mind macho man. It's like she's literally half my size. I can't say I'm tired if she's still fucking going like an engine. So, yeah, that's Teresa.
That's pretty awesome. And I'm glad that you have found someone in your life that matches that type of energy for you, and matches that type of like stable intensity, where it's just there, and it teaches you lessons. Like it teaches you to suck it up. It teaches you to be stronger. It teaches you that women are not the weaker sex. They have been trained into being told they are, but I doubt women are the weaker sex. I have doubted that for a long time. I think men, we like to take the easiest routes possible and do the least amount of work. And just like you, I've had a lot of really powerful female influences in my life and feminine influences in my life that have helped drive me to be better and show that I'm just doing it like these things because I'm lazy, not because I don't want to or can't do them. And
right.
I think what I see out of your story of Teresa and your wife and Mrs. Ogre here is both of them challenge you to be better without like aggressively like trying to put dominance over you. They aren't trying to dominate you with what they're doing as a person. They're just living their life, and it's giving you an example of what it looks like to be strong without dominance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she was never just like, come on, you weakling. She was just like, nope, just doing my job, la 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 la. And it was just like, well, fuck. And she was always professional about it. That was the thing. That's the thing that always got my attention. It was just like, she just does her fucking job. And it's like, I mean, I had one or two jobs before I was working there, but she's the person I learned how to be a fucking professional from.
Yeah.
Like, you're there to do the job. Do the job.
Yep. And like our friend Yanni says in the chat is women can grow a human being in their bodies. They're far superior to men. Like I've said, is a pussy can take a pounding, testicles cannot. Which is why I call men, when they're weak, testicles and taints and ball sacks and penises. And Stephen Miller's a smegmomaniac. He's the smegma of human beings. He's that yeasty substance inside of an uncircumcised penis that just pops out and everybody hates it. It's gross. It's unclean. It's disgusting. But I won't demean women because they're the stronger sex. They prove it all the time because they're not fucking lazy. Men, I think part of this is breaking through the laziness cycle in men. Is we could be an equal sex or an equal side of the spectrum if we weren't so fucking lazy and passed it off to other people to do the work for us. And I think that's a lot of what this discussion to me is about, and why a perfect opportunity to move into our next question is, what does intelligent masculinity mean to you?
Intelligent masculinity. I mean, it means being aware of who you are and your impact on the world around you. Like, okay, so I'm 6'1",
Yeah.
and I am not a thin 6'1". Like, even if I lost the weight, I would still never be a thin 6'1". I'm always I'm always going to be a large, big presence moving through the world. And part of that means that I have to be aware of what that means to other people.
Yes.
Um, because it doesn't matter whether I want to be threatening or not. I am threatening just by my sheer size. And part of intelligent masculinity means understanding that, um, and navigating the world with an eye towards how other people view me. Um, and it doesn't mean that I have to, like, I have to like slump down or try to make myself less threatening, but I have to understand what it means when other people see me, and I have to approach them that way. Like, I can't walk up to smaller people in a dark alley. I can't walk up to women in an elevator and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, I can't. I have to understand that. It also means that as a man, I have an immense, especially as a white man, I mean, yeah, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Jewish. You can't tell by looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm passing as a white man in a white man's world. I have an enormous amount of privilege when I move through the world, and I have to be aware of that as well when I interact with people. Um, so especially when it comes to my family. I mean, that's something we'll discuss that later when we get to your Mulan questions. But I have to be aware of how I present myself, because it is something that I can easily abuse.
Yeah.
And especially in a society that is geared towards catering towards me and my male ego. um so when I know it's kind of cliche, but with great power comes great responsibility, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera. And it's beholden to me to not abuse that power,
Yes.
because that's kind of bullshit. It's I don't need to
Yeah.
abuse it. All right, there's no need to abuse it, especially at the expense of other people, who don't appreciate it and will resent it to no fucking end. They
Yeah.
have to deal with enough bullshit to begin with. I don't need to add to it. Um,
No, I think that's
so
great. Like, that fits really well too. Your awareness of the space that you take up around you, your external presence, is a really key piece of what I've found to be like the thesis of intelligent masculinity, which is the refusal to outsource accountability onto others, which is you're owning your body. You understand the space that you take up and the privilege that you have, and you're aware of it. And then you're disciplined to live with the consequences of your values and actions. And for you, it seems like one of those disciplines is strictly understanding your physical stature and your visible stature, and seeing how does that impact the people around me, and how do I make sure I am not taking up space that it isn't mine or isn't needed, rolling that into the question of how do you model this intelligent masculinity, or further model it from what you've already spoken about in terms of like taking up space and awareness of your presence around people as a larger, imposing-ish looking figure. Though the friendliest and gentlest people I've ever met are the tallest people, because you have to be aware of the space around you and what you're doing just in general. And so you tend to be gentler. Gentle giant for a reason is a phrase. So how do you model the intentional masculinity around you so that you can grow and be better?
How do I model? I do. So I don't walk around smiling all the time.
No.
No. I mean, when I make eye contact with people, I'll nod my head or I'll smile. I'll say hello, a lot more than I generally want to. Okay. So I'm extroverted online, but in real life, I am not like super outgoing, friendly. Like, hey, everybody. That's not really what I'm like in person.
Yeah.
When I'm walking outdoors, or I'm moving through crowds, I tend to be, I keep to myself. I don't really like chatting with people I don't know, that sort of thing. I try not to make eye contact. It's just I'm not super comfortable with it, but I know I have to when I'm out in the real world, just because I know it makes people feel less uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have like a resting bitch face, but I can have a resting bitch face if I'm not doing something with it, like smiling. So, I always try to put people, I try to make them feel less, more at ease around me, especially if they don't know who I am and we're not surrounded by a whole bunch of other people. When we're in a crowd, people don't mind that I'm that big because we're in a big fucking crowd. So who cares, right? Then I'm just some other person. But if there's not there's not a lot of people around, then yes, I put that extra little effort into being friendly, which is not normally how I deal with people. But I do, when I'm talking to someone in a store, I put, especially since I've worked in retail before. When I worked in retail, that was really different because I'm a character, right? I'm playing a character. I have a specific defined role. I'm a cashier. I'm an assistant manager. I'm a manager. I that's a defined role to interact with the public, and that's way easier for me, right? That's a set defined thing I have to do, and being friendly and outgoing is way easier because I know it's got a beginning, middle, and end for that conversation, and then I can go back to hiding from people. But when it's just general outdoor social situations, it's not that defined. So I tend not to want to do that. Introverts of the world unite. But it's, again, I have to always be aware of who, like, what they see when they look at me. So I try to put that extra effort into being less threatening looking or less, grumpy look, not grumpy looking, but just less intimidating.
Less opinionated looking.
Well, yeah, but I don't walk around with a scowl on my face. But but I try to come off, it's like friendly and light, it's like, hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Hey, thank you, this, that, and the other. I'm very pleasant when I'm talking to people out in the real world, as opposed to like, I don't want to talk to you at all. I don't know who you are. Leave me alone. Because I know how that comes off when someone my size is being, don't talk to me, because it just makes me that much more uncomfortable to be around, and I'm already uncomfortable to be around to begin with. And I get that. For a while I was wearing nail polish. I had, my nails were colored like a lot, because I did find that especially women, especially younger women, were much more comfortable being around me. I actually had several mention that to me, which I really do need to get back to painting my nails again. One, because I like how they look, because it's pretty, but also I know it puts, again, mostly women, it puts them at ease around me, because ain't no MAGA in the world walking around with painted fingernails. It doesn't matter how big or scary I look. They see those nails, and the first thing they think is, that's a safe person, because that's just not a thing that you're going to get from some, scowly, grumpy old white, because I'm old, I'm in my 50s, some grumpy old white guy. he can't be that bad if he's fucking got rainbow fingernails.
Yeah.
So it's something I really have to get around to doing. I just got lazy about it. So, but it's sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say the intentionality of it is important. And I think I've done that too. Is like, I haven't for a while, but I paint my nails too. I'm not a hugely imposing person. I'm 5'9", like I'm an average size adult male in the US. I'm not overly heavy set. I'm not overly thin. Like I'm just a regular size white dude who just happens to speak up a lot. And we have to make ourselves, it's the intent behind it, is the action to let others know. My dog bell is going off. Asking or making the intentional choice to let others know that you are a safe person, or you are a person who will and does fight for them or fight for others, and uses that privilege. I have a feeling I've got somebody at the door.
Oh, that's a very excited dog.
Well, I got 3 of them, so they get all sorts of excited when things. Hey nerds, chill out. It's okay. It's okay. The delivery guy ain't gonna hurt you. Oh yeah, it's a good boy. Now I'll pet him and just keep him quiet. Is so with all of this, because you are very aware. It seems what you've been talking about is you're very aware of yourself and what you're doing and how you move through the world. Is how do you self-reflect and self-evaluate on your actions that you've made either during the day, course of the week, course of the month? What do you do to self-reflect?
Okay, when I was a kid, my parents had a very ugly divorce. My mom left when I was 6, and I had some issues stemming from that, and the abuse. So I had a rather troubled youth. I got in trouble in school a lot of fights, this, that, and the other. That all culminated when I was about, I'm going to say 9 years old, when I put a kid in the hospital. And after that, because, I was always a big kid. I was always one of the bigger kids in the school. And by the time I was 9, I had gotten big enough where I was strong enough where I could actually hurt someone, like for real. That's how the kid ended up in the hospital. And after that, I went to a therapist, and that's when I hurt this kid, I realized that, this is a problem. If I'm big enough to hurt someone, to put them in a hospital, I'm big enough to really, really seriously hurt someone.
Yeah.
Like for realsy. Obviously hospital. He's fine. but it was like, okay, even at 9, I started to realize that's a problem. I need to maybe not do that. And that's when I started to think really, really hard about what I was doing and why I was doing it. Therapy helped.
Yeah.
But by the time I was a teenager, I was thinking about shit I was doing, when I was doing it, and why I was doing it. Because by the time I was 16, I was 6'1", and I was a big motherfucker. Like that. I mean, it's just like a family thing. We're just big and very, very fucking strong. And it was like, okay, I am now at a point where I am dangerously strong. I just can't get into fist fights for fun because, I could really fucking hurt someone.
Yeah.
Like for realsy. If I could put someone in the hospital at 9, what the fuck could I do to them at 16?
Yeah.
Let me not do that. This is, by the way, when I started to learn how to be very mouthy. Because, if I can't throw hands, I can definitely throw words.
Yeah.
And
which is just as dangerous sometimes.
Well, we'll get to that too. But my mother had a very sharp tongue, which I also inherited. So I got the size from my father's side of the family, and I got my mother's sharp tongue. So, not a great combination for people who pissed me off. So
No.
I just learned to be really, really sarcastic and really, really nasty. You may have not seen that with some people online when they piss me off.
Wait, you sarcastic? I've never would
I
have
I
never would
know,
have thought
right?
about it,
My
right?
gosh.
Gosh,
You
you're
know.
the most straight-laced ogre I've ever met.
But and I had to learn how to, control the temper, which, that comes from both sides of my family. But I had to be able to think very, very hard about what I was doing and why I was doing it. And
Yeah.
that has just carried through my entire life. Like, I have to think about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it at all times. I don't have the luxury of losing control,
Yeah.
um, because there's always that temper that comes from my father's side and my mother's side. And I don't get to do that because, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's really dangerous
Yeah.
in both physically and socially. And it's like, I can just say really, really mean things to people that I don't want to say them to. So I have to be careful about that. And I definitely don't get physical, because the last 2 times I got into a fight as an adult, it was like I had to stop within 5 seconds. It was like, I will fucking kill this person. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I got into a fight with our upstairs neighbor, the place we lived in before we moved down to Virginia. The guy spit in my face, and within seconds, he was dragged down a flight of stairs on his back, and he had no idea what had just happened. Like, he didn't even see me move because it was that fast. And I was a big fat guy, and he had no idea what had just happened. It was like, and then when he was on his back, I was like, if I don't stop right now, I'm going to beat this guy into a hospital. I have to not do this. And it was like, I'm going to walk away now. And he called the cops, and fortunately he was drunk, and I was able to convince the cops that he was drunk and he'd started the fight, and nothing happened because I was a better liar than he was. But that was fucking dangerous. It was like, I can't do this type of thing. It's fucking dangerous. But that's why I spend a lot of time thinking very, very fucking hard and self-reflecting and being like, nope. I always have to be under self-control because it's fucking dangerous. So yeah, it's a huge amount of self-restraint. That's why I don't get drunk that often. But
that's fair. I mean, you are self-reflecting and self-evaluating on things and making a choice. And yeah, in our comments from Glenn, spitting is considered assault. So they were in the wrong in the first. You were defending yourself back, which you do have the right to. However, you also cannot go overboard in this country, because then it becomes assault on your part. Like, there is a limit to what you can do in response, and understanding your own limits and reflecting on them before they happen, instead of having to wait until after this person did that, and then you responded. Like, intelligent masculinity, it's a better humaning thing. It's that pause between the act of doing and saying, oh, should I fucking do this, real quick in your head, and letting your brain give you the right answer and trusting that the answer is probably not most of the time. Like, no, I'm going to stop real quick and reevaluate what I do. And Ogre's had to do that. It sounds like you've had to do that basically your entire life, and that you have internalized that need and turned it into a way to make sure that you aren't being dangerous, or are growing from the instances where you had issues, and you're learning from them and not letting them happen again. And that's self-evaluation, self-reflection. And that's what masculinity and better humaning in general is about. And so let's get into our fun questions. Yeah.
Before that, it's also smaller things where I try really, really hard not to do like knee-jerk reactions. Like it's like when like my daughter, I argue with my wife about this all the time. Like my daughter asks about doing something, and Mrs. Ogre will immediately say no, and then I will ask her why, and she won't be able to tell me why she said no. And I was like, okay, but you have to be able to explain why you said no, even to yourself. And I don't do that. Like if I don't immediately have an answer, or if I immediately have an answer, if I don't know why I am saying yes or no to something, well, more specifically, if I say no to something, I have to be able to explain to myself, much less my kid or Mrs. Ogre.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm telling you no, I need to be able to explain to myself why I'm saying no. I have to. Otherwise, I don't have a good reason. And that's
Agreed.
one of those things I just say, okay, hold on. There's something about it that's bugging me. I need to be able to explain what it is that's bugging me. And if I can't explain it, then it's not a good reason. I have to. I'm better at that than my wife is. And she's getting better at that because I've been pestering her about it for a long time. She'll just say no. And I'm like, but why? And she's like, I don't know. And it's like, well, then you need to sit down and think about why. And then she'll think about it. It's like, well, that's because my mother used to tell me no. And it's like, but that's not a good reason. You know, is there an actual reason? It's like, well, no, that's just how I used to do it. But that's not a good reason.
Yeah.
You know, and I've done that too. And it's like, well, that's not how I did it as a kid. And it's like, but that's not a good reason not to do something. It's like, I don't really care if she stays up late. It's like, I just don't think she should stay up late. It's like, but that's not a good reason. She doesn't have to get up tomorrow. So why do I care if she stays up late? She doesn't have to do anything in the morning. So why do I care? I don't care. I care because I don't think she should stay up late. That's not a good reason, you know, and I have to, you know, and I'll occasionally argue with myself. That's, you know, so there's two versions of it, you know, there's the man version and then there's the parent version.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I think you make a really important point there is that the stopping and asking why question. And it fits in with a question that popped up in the chat from a friend of ours, a friend in the chat, Joe, was asking why do men become violent once married? It's like a flip switches. It's because they're not actually intelligent or really masculine men. They're abusers hiding behind a mask. They use the mask of masculinity to get someone into their life, and then they can take the mask off, and there's nothing that person can do a lot of times, unless it's like leave. But that's really hard in some situations, in some scenarios. So,
and honestly, sometimes the man doesn't even know he's an abuser until he's there, and then it's like, oh, this is who I am, and then it's too late for them too. Not to excuse them, not at all. Sometimes they just don't know.
Yeah. And they find themselves as abusers, and because they've never stopped to ask themselves either, is what I learned as a kid, was that right? Or what I was taught, the lessons I learned, were those right? They just pass them on. They don't ask the next question, which is why. Why is such an important question. It's also really annoying when your kid asks you why all the time. You have to remember that they're asking why because why is really important. Like, why do we do things? Well, we do them because of this, or we don't do them because of these norms. And so knowing our own whys is really important, which leads us into, I guess, our final set of questions. And I'm only rushing a little because I realized I have a meeting that I have to get to in 13 minutes, and I don't want to be late because I've got so much on my calendar. It's ridiculous. That being said, let's get into our final set of questions, which is the piece from Mulan, from I'll Make a Man Out of You. It's the Be a Man. It's the Let's Go Girls clarion call for action for men. And it's got some hype in it. It's one of my favorite Disney movie musicals. It's also just got great music. And as a choir kid growing up, it was a great way to like just have some fun and say like super like these are the masculine things that people talk about. But as I grow up, I've realized that the chorus from that song isn't just about physicality. There's a lot more depth that we can pull from the phrases. It also gives a little bit of challenge to my friends and those who I'm interviewing with, because they're not standard questions. They're not the standard, well, who is the masculine figure in your life or feminine figure in your life? These ones get you to think just a little. So let's get into it for our Mulan, I'll make a man out of you segment of the intelligent masculinity questions. First, what does it mean to you to be as swift as a coursing river?
Fortunately, I heard you ask these questions already, so I actually put some thought into it, so we can move this pretty quickly. So you only have a little bit of time here. Swift as a coursing river. For me, this means that I'm decisive, but I mean that literally. I tend to make decisions pretty quickly, like, when it comes to being, to my family.
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time, it's like, well, what do we do this? What do we do that? It's like, nope, we need to do this. Here's the reasons why we need to do this, because otherwise we will be bogged down for hours and hours and days and days. It's like, we don't have a ton of time, especially we have a special needs son. We don't have a huge luxury of time for stuff, because the longer it takes, the more antsy he gets. It's like, nope, we need to do this. We're going to do this. And I don't step on everybody and just like, no, we're doing it my way or the highway. You're just like, we need to do this. Here are the reasons. If you've got better ones, give them now, but we need to make a decision pretty goddamn fast. So I tend to move pretty quickly when it comes to deciding stuff.
I like it. That's a great answer. How do you embody the force of a great typhoon?
I do not. This goes back to what I was discussing before. Someone my size, I deliberately go out of my way not to do that. I have a big booming voice, which I try not to use. Instead, I was a manager for a very, very long time. I use the manager voice. When I want to get their attention, I do the manager voice. I also do the manager cough, the ahem, which I've done that in a room full of adults as a PTA president, and I've gotten the entire room to just freeze. It's really effective. But,
I bet.
Yeah, I don't, do the whole, it's like, I'm here. I really try not to dominate the room that way, because again, I know how obnoxious it can be for someone my size to do that. But I will use the manager voice, especially when the kids were younger, or I use the manager stare, which I cannot show you, but it's something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And they know what I'm staring at them, and I'm just like looking with my eyes just wide open.
Pull down the glasses a little, just the Chuck Schumer look.
They know it's like, you're doing something I extremely disapprove of, and I'm going to sit here until you figure out what it is. So yeah, that's my version of a force of a great typhoon. It's way, way more subtle than just bellowing at the top of my lungs, which I can do, but it's rude.
I think that great. It also fits well with who you are and what you've been talking about throughout all of this anyway. Next question. How are you as strong as a raging fire?
I leave the raging for the writing. Again, I don't rage in real life because it's extremely unnerving for everyone around me. I will do that with people who know me really well. When I get really worked up about something, like mostly politics, I get when I start cursing and Brooklyn comes out. But that's the people who know me really well and who will not get uncomfortable around me getting really angry, because they know who I am and will never feel uncomfortable around me. Like Lila, my semi-adopted daughter, once said, it's like, why would anyone ever be scared around you? When she was like, I don't know, 11 years old, she said, it's like, why would anyone ever be scared around you? You're a fucking teddy bear. And meanwhile, I'm like a foot and a half taller than her. And my mother pointed out, it's like, yes, that's because you've known him since you were like 7 years old.
Yeah.
You know, for other people who don't know him, he's a little intimidating. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So she was like, oh, okay. So them, I'll rant and rave in front of them, but for other people, I leave that for the writing and on the podcast, because you know it's a podcast. I can do that.
Yeah, you get to do that. It's nobody gets to tell you no that you can't rant and rave on your podcast.
Exactly.
Except for you or in the end, the subscribers, if they all decide to leave after a rant and rave. Like, that's a choice too.
Also, I'm a sock puppet, so
yeah, you're a sock puppet.
Possibly be.
Yeah, you can rage all you want. Sock puppets get to rage. Rage against the machine, bro. Like, there's no rule against it. Ain't nobody say sock puppets can't talk in the States. That's freedom of speech right there. Finally, and this one is probably going to be an easier one for you than for some other people, because you do have some mystery about you, is how are you as mysterious as the dark side of the moon?
So there's two things about this. There's what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. I don't always say what I'm thinking when it comes to the people in my life. I live with 4 women and my son. Jordan's autistic, and he doesn't give a crap about what I think for the most part. Yeah, he's mostly like he lives in Jordan land, and he doesn't really pay attention to most of us for the most part. But with Anastasia and Mrs. Ogre and Claudia and Lila, I'm constantly doing a ton of emotional labor, and I'm constantly managing their emotional lives. Like during COVID, I spent every waking moment keeping them from freaking out. That's what I did for 18 months. That was my job, was to keep all of them from panicking, while not panicking myself, which was really fucking hard, but that's my job, right? That's what I do. So everything I say has enormous consequences for them. And I'm aware of that at all times. An offhand remark, just not paying attention, can be absolutely fucking devastating, especially for Anastasia and Lila, because they're kids. Yeah. I mean, Lila's 18, but she's still a kid, and I'm their father, right? I'm not technically Lila's father, but I'm still a father to her. Yeah. So if I say, it's like, oh, hey, you know, that shirt's those pants look a little tight on you, that would fucking crush her. So I have to be careful about what I say to them all the time. So that I'm forever mysterious about what I'm thinking. I always have to be very, very careful. On the other hand, I am never mysterious about what I'm feeling, because I know the 4 of them and Jordan, but I know them like a book. Like, you know, most women complain that men don't understand women. I know them better than they know themselves, which annoys them occasionally. It's like, most women would kill to have a man in their life that understands them the way I understand you. I probably understand them a little better than they would like, but I understand them so fucking thoroughly that, you know, it's almost annoying for them most of the time. But while I'm capable of doing that, they're not always capable of doing that for me. Yeah. Right? Not everyone can read other people the way I can read them. Yeah. Because that is my job, right? That my job is to understand them and be able to help them and be able to support them. They're not always good at reading me. So I'm forever having to make sure they know what I'm feeling and understand where I'm coming from. And I have to be very, very open about that, because otherwise they won't know. Because, you know, even though I'm not particularly closed off, it doesn't, you know, it's not like I have a meter over my head saying happy, sad, mad. You know, I have to tell them things. So I have to explain regularly. So I am the opposite of mysterious that way, because I have to forever tell them things. So, you know, I wish they could read me a little bit better, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It is. And it's important that you see it too in yourself and where you need to be able to focus on your growth and how you manage and balance your own emotions without putting them onto other people. You live with your emotions and your consequences and the actions that you've taken. And I think that's really awesome. And I want to close out the show here because I've got just a couple minutes left before I got to get to a separate meeting. Is I want you to be able to promote yourself and share where people can find the work that you're doing, the great stuff that you are putting out, the opinions, the uh, podcasts, the discussions. Help promote yourself and let people know where they can find you.
Well, my main work is on the newsletters, Opinionated Ogre on Substack. I do a podcast every third. Well, we record it on Wednesdays. It posts on Thursday. I'm almost always with Florida Woman Rants. I'm also on Blue Sky, and I am occasionally on Twitter. So always, it's all under Opinionated Ogre. So that is where you can find me, and please do.
Awesome. Thank you, Ogre. I appreciate you for this incredible discussion. This has been a lot of fun and really cool to get to know you more. And I hope everybody has learned something today and gotten something out of this. I'll be posting the show recap later with a write-up of our discussion from what I've learned from Ogre. And then it's going to feed into more articles that are coming out. And look out for this afternoon, there's a new article coming out on intelligent masculinity. If you're catching this on February 4th, there will be principled or disciplined and principle or disciplined and practiced. Sorry. Disciplined and practiced is the new article coming out here soon. So take a look for that. Take a look for all the show notes. And again, thank you, Ogre, for being here. This is Intelligent Masculinity on the Sick of This Shit publications. I'm Nick Perro, not your dad, but I'm here to help you guys create a new masculinity and internalize it and practice and spread it around. Because you know what? We're sick of this shit and we're getting ready and we're doing this shit. Thanks, y'all. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks, Ogre.
Bye. Thank you.